Close your eyes. I said close your eyes. We get trapped. We get trapped in the outer, inner. We get trapped in the inner, outer. Yes. As we go within, when we go within, when we spend moments centering, zen, the breath, the wind, the air, the spirit, as we reach further, farther, wider, calmer, it becomes apparent to us, even subtly, perhaps subconsciously, that of course the inner only exists in reference to the outer. This is not nothing that we always readily are thinking about until, of course, we realize it or it dawns on us. Because a notion can come to you and an epiphany can dawn on you, and a realization can occur within you, amongst you, throughout you. When we close our eyes, when we go within, it takes those seconds until the seconds aren't so important, aren't as imperative. We find ourselves in a place surrounded by everything. You dig? Under, over, outer, inner. The inner outer is my bringing you with me. But because we are already there and here, wherever, whenever. However, to take the moment to allow yourself to be without needing, without expecting. You can still feel all that is. You can still feel it. You can still feel the hearts, the life essence, aware and unaware, present and otherwise, and remote, past and future. It's not so prominent or intense or extreme because, of course, it's subtle. It's on a level where it's not one but all, and not all but one. Neither of either, yet each of any. You can feel it. You can feel it even when you are distracted by whatever comes across your mind. And you return back to it in this stillness, in this silence, in this soul isness. You don't feel lonely as much as you do feel close and closer than you are able to allow yourself to feel at particular given moments throughout your day, in the midst of your activities and interactions. Yet, you can always feel it, but here and now, it fills you. And that is always happening simultaneously, and as what we call the outer inner. Yes, and this inner outer is meeting that contact, that embrace, simultaneously reaching and receiving. This inner outer, because all is all. When we get there, there's a brightness without sight. You understand? Like the warmth of a sun ray in the night. That heat is still in the atmosphere, regardless of what position the sun is in relation to the earth. And that is light in itself. But light is beyond color. Just like knowing is beyond seeing. So, in this solace, in this serenity, we are being seen as we are seeing without sight. It is the mere consideration. It is the mere accompaniment. Yes. It is the mere settling and setting of your breath, which is pretty key. The breath is key. It's different because I'm speaking to you as it is that I'm recalling the essence and the experience. But to fully engage myself, I would want to be silent and focus on deepening my breaths, clearing my breath, purifying my nerves, right? Because when you take a breath correctly, it corrects all of the different infringements within your nervous system, all of the different cells in your body. Do the very kinetic activation that oxygen meeting the different cells initiates. Oxygen goes to your blood. That has a metabolic effect on everything in your organism, in your anatomy, instantly. Even psychically, even, telecommunicatively, right? Before you're even able to realize it, or even as it's happening, into it happening. And that's that breath. That's those still breaths. Those are those steady breaths, aligning and integrating with your thought activity. Yes. And with these thoughts, with these dreams, with these visions, with these notions, all is included, not more so than any other, per se. And that is the comfort that you're able to gain, that you're able to reach, that you're able to explore. Honestly, I see a faint light. I see a faint spinning orb of essence, right? And what's interesting is you could take your mind, or you could take your focus off of it, because when you overly focus into this portal, it's going to elude you. At first, it's going to not necessarily evade or maneuver, or it's not going to try to, dodge you or whatever, or it's just that you have to go to it as it comes to you, and it has to meet you in its reaching and receiving simultaneously, because it always is. That inner outer, that outer inner. The inner outer is your core beingness, your soul, spirit, heart, and mind, and all of the different sides and aspects of that interchangeably, simultaneously. That's your inner, right? Your inner outer, though, is what you've given all of these things to up until the point, up until the moment, in sequence. The chronological steps and process that has led to your very decision to take time for yourself, to yourself, by yourself, as yourself. And even more so than just yourself, just as I. Right? That includes what you did just before us doing this, and what you did just before you did that. From the second to the week to the decade. Right? An accumulation of a decade is all what you have done in reference and quality magnitude, in comparison, in reference to the following 10 years. Now, if you're 21 years old and 3 seconds, that's 3 seconds outside and into this next cycle. But those 3 seconds, these now first 3 seconds into this next cycle, are saturated, just that much more multiplied. Yes, because every second within that first 10-year cycle now has that reference of however many seconds is in 10 years. If there's 1,440 seconds in an hour, or 60 times 60 is what? It's 360. Ironically, no. There's 360 seconds every hour. You understand? Now, a second is the increment, is the very digit increment of time. Yes? Now, who decided that a second is however many milliseconds? Now, how many milliseconds is a second? I would imagine it's probably 1,000 and not even just 60. All right? A millisecond is going to be made up of 100 1/100ths of a second. It's not going to go by 60, but by the time you get to 60, and it's a reason why the number 60 is chosen, it has to do with the speed of light, literally. Now, that's just one way, because the speed of light is in reference to our sun and our earth. That is the light that we are referencing, but there's other light in different distances that are of different increment units of cycles and sequences. And you feel that too. You know? With these seconds that inevitably end up meaning what it means, you feel that without having to concentrate on it or it having to be necessarily acknowledged. But not only do you feel yours, you feel everyone's, right? And the more you feel it, the less you feel it, in a sense, because it's not separate from you. It's just that second becomes all of what it ever was and will be, which is eternity and infinity. And that keeps you company, right? That in itself nurtures you, nurtures your expectations, it nurtures your anxiety, nurtures your disappointments, right? Literally, quite literally, because you're able to realize more than you could even realize just as yourself. But that's that word coming up again when we speak of self. Yes. As far as a second and a decade, once a decade has passed twice, now, I mean, that's just a blessing, right? You're not finna make it to 2 centuries. Not necessarily, not that you won't, we already have throughout the time in life, being alive as one race of existing entities or existing existences, right? Yeah, but that's going to take continued connections, right? And what's really amazing is it happens instantly the entire time. It's happening instantly, continuously. It's a continuous, instantaneous experience. So it's never a loss. It's not ever a loss, right? They say if you don't have time to meditate, is when you should meditate. It's when you should meditate even longer. If you don't have, and I'm all in your ear because it's not nothing to speak about, you understand, right? However, I will relate to you, and I will at least assure and confirm and clarify my appreciation so as to meet and accentuate and accommodate your own appreciation when you're in that zone, when you're in that realm, yes, of quiet, of vibrance, yes, of focus is the key. Focus is the key. Focus is the key. Focus on what? Focus on being. Focus on breathing. Focus on centering. Focus on balancing. Focus on smoothness. Yes. Focus on the answer. Focus on the answers. Focus on that light that you see without seeing it. Focus on that light that's right there until you try to follow it and you realize that it's just besides your sight, even in your eyes being closed. Is it just me? Or is there a spinning spark that as you allow yourself to remember yourself, allow yourself to remember your most ideal state and sense of acceptance, sense of intention, sense of awareness and certainty. Yes, allow yourself to remember your most familiar, your most ideal and essential characteristic certainty without having to just naturally, without forcing it, right? Without inducing it, right? Allow yourself to come back, to go forth. Yes. All at once. Sinking into the swirling ascension. Right? You grow arms, no? You grow fingers at the end of those arms. Yes? And you're just moving the tips of all of those fingers on all of those arms through the air. Some parts of this air is cooler, some warmer, some a bit condensated to where there's a mist, there's a dewy sort of fine mist that almost wets the tip of your fingers, but not so particularly so. It's just a coolness, but it's a little bit more of a silkier, smoother coolness. This is the very skin, the very surface of your skin in itself. Just subtly, even just psychically, okay? Because you have a body, it's called a subtle body. And then you also have an astral body. Your body has skin, but it's sensational. Composition is not so limited to just touch. No, touch is an added extension, but it's separate if it's not connected, right? And that takes even more calmer. That takes even more balance, so as to explore that with the touch too, because it's beyond touch. It's not just limited to only touch. But that's something you can feel also without having to know, without having to acknowledge the feeling of it, right? Because it's not just a feeling in so many words. It's a knowing, it's a being, it's an isness, it's a journey. It's an exploration and experience. It's an exploration and experience through time, beyond time. As far as the inner outer and the outer inner, right? That is the contents from the diameter to the circumference. And each pore, each chamber, each tunnel, each aspect and each layer making it up thereof, and the differences between each level of it. Where you got a circumference, you got an emanation. An emanation begins at the source expression, but it extends into its halo, into its corona. The very outer extended edge of that corona is of the same reality, of the same identity, to whatever degrees, as the beginning expression. It's completely connected, so to speak. And that's the connection. That is the connection that you're making. With anything that exists, it is of an emanation, beginning with the cells of your body. Just like your cells have a nucleus, and all that's making up that cell is atoms, which also have a nucleus, which begin with that emanation. Now the connection, right? The connection of this emanate, of these conjointed and harmonizing, interrelated emanations, and whatever sorts of systemized function, also surround an emanation, right? That's the very spark within your heart, that beating compression, which literally makes a sound, right? That's why they say the heart chakra is the bridge. Yes. You start at the heart, you take the heart to the root, you bring the root back up to the heart. Okay? That's the inner outer. The outer inner is that root that you're bringing back up into the inner. The center is the inner, the outer is the circumference. Yes, it's the surface. But there is no surface without the center, and there is no center without the surface. So everything in between is a combination of outer, inner, outer. Yes, right? That outer, inner are all of the voices that you're not necessarily ignoring, but you're just allowing to only be differentiated in whatever sort of other designation, related or unrelated to whatever signification that you're directing. In this particular sense, we are, of course, drawing, we're magnetizing, right? We're concentrating. We're not necessarily condensing, but we're calling into the allness the different aspects, the different sides of it, the different parts of it. Yes, and that is the fuller inner, which is there's no inner or outer, to be honest. Right? And the deeper you go within, the stronger it all is. Right? That's how you can be on the outer and literally be disintegrated by whatever other outer activities are happening. Right? Say, for instance, you sit meditating and it being that you happen to be a person with a mind, which is reached through the brain, and something happens outside, that's not nothing you ain't gonna realize. You did? You're not even gonna realize that you're gonna be in your zone. If your body should happen to stop, it wouldn't make a difference to you regardless. Just like you're anticipating whatever sorts of threat to your physical is irrelevant. Right? Do what is necessary so as to ensure your availability, so as to, of course, grow in your universal energizing is the point. Anyway, because without that, then there's only that outer inner. Right? That's the limit of even the inner, would be the outer inner. And the circumference of that outer inner would be just the outer. You know, you have to breach that outer inner so as to dwell within and explore and accentuate and coordinate that inner outer with and to, as well as the outer inner, so as to remember, realize, and appreciate and explore and absorb that inner. Right? That inner is that light that's spinning. Is that faint, sort of fuzzy, sort of glow, sort of. I gotta close my eyes and just explain it to you, because I had to open my eyes. It's like, say, for instance, you stare at the sun, and that's why sun gazing is important, is interesting, because like if you sun gaze, when you close your eyes, there's always that remnant of that glare from the sun, and that's how it feels. Like, say, for instance, you look at the sun and then you close your eyes, there's like that bright distraction even in the darkness of your eyes, or darkness of your eyes being closed. Right? The very sun come up out of the darkness, my nigga. Right? You go to the center of the ocean, you're not gonna see no light. The surface too far away. The light does not reach to where you are. But there are luminescent creatures in the dark who create their own light just through their own cellular activity. You know what I mean? Now, if that's possible for a creature without a said mind, it doesn't take us being in the dark. We can close our eyes and be in the dark, just like they could. But when they open their eyes, they wouldn't be able to see any light. When we open our eyes, we can see light. Even if we in the dark, there's going to be, well, our eyes will adjust to the darkness just based on whatever light was at one point. Now, you get moved to a place that you ain't never seen in the light, then that's different. Right? And even then, your eyes will adjust and you'll be able to at least see through the darkness by associating whatever sorts of remnants of actual luminescence that is in the cells of your eyes, the cells that's making up the walls of the room that you're in. Right? However, if you be in the dark for extended periods of time, that's going to have an effect on you in itself. Right? Especially if you're not going within. Now, if you're going within for the majority of the time, say, for instance, you were stricken to a dark room, I don't know how healthy that would be without the sun, right? So this inner light that you don't necessarily see, but you don't necessarily not see either. Because if you allow yourself, you'll notice a spinning light in the distance. Right? There's nothing else to think about. There's nothing else to distract you. Maybe it's just me. I don't know when I started seeing it. I think I've always seen it, but I didn't realize I was seeing it until I realized it. And now it's never long before I'm on my way back to meeting me. It's always there, and it's always growing, and it's always moving, right? Just like our solar system is spinning around the center of our Milky Way, which is an emanation in itself. The black hole at the center of our Milky Way is an emanation, even though it's a contraction, right? It's pulling everything in. It's a center of gravity, but it also emits energy, right? It emits the very gravitational force that holds all that's surrounding it in place. But it's not even holding it in place. It's just meeting it. It's pushing in, pulling it in. It's pulling it in, but pushing it away enough for it doesn't pull it all the way in just yet. Right? And even in that occurring, it's all part of a larger emanation. That is the fuller multiverse. Right? As well as wherever that motherfucking black hole is coming from and going to. It's its own larger part of the fuller allness. And that's something you feel also. Especially when you're reminded, when you catch the attention of that source, of that initiation, of that spark, of that invitation, right? It's like an invitation, you know? It's like you're inviting yourself, but how you going to go somewhere and you're you, right? How you invite yourself? Well, that's absolutely what is happening, and how I would suggest that it should be thought of so as not to frighten yourself away from involving yourself with delving into the experience. I know somebody was telling me about a light that you can see when you close your eyes. I'll be a little bit reluctant. But if you're ready, then that's not nothing you won't be able to evade. You're not going to get away from that. It's like I said, it's meeting you. It's yourself inviting yourself. And there's a warmth outside of heat, right? There's a closeness outside of distance, right? Just like it is light beyond sight. Yes, is what I'm referring to. Is what I'm referring to. The inner outer. The outer inner. The outer inner. The inner outer. The outer inner is what is silenced. The outer inner is what is silenced, as opposed to whatever other noise, right? It's the noiselessness of silence. Is the outer inner. Now the inner outer would be, of course, the silence of the noise. How you could drown out whatever distractions eventually is now that inner outer in the outer inner. It doesn't change. You still can have these thoughts, which would be the noise. However, you allow the inner outer to you accept the invitation of the inner outer. as the outer inner. Now, what is that invitation calling you to? What is it inviting to? Of course, that inner, right? Where now you are the light, right? There is no more darkness, right? There's nothing but light because you are in it and you are it. That's what's funny about seeing the would-be bulb. It's not even a bulb. It's like a distant vortex, right? That's what's funny about seeing it is by the time you chase it, by the time it falls or rises into another part of your sight, but then you realize, oh snap, it's still where it was you was looking at. And the more you allow that to happen, the larger it becomes, the closer it seems to be, until even the black is not black that you're looking at, right? Because this spinning light, this spinning sort of faint light would be surrounded by the blackness that is the darkness of your closed eyes. However, as it grows closer, or rather you're realizing the full actual experience, that blackness is not black anymore, right? Because black in itself is a color, and that's how you would describe it, so as to refer what can be seen. But that's on the outer. That's on the outer. Right? As soon as you close your eyes, you're already on the outer inner. Right? Now you follow that path to the inner outer until it is you reconnect with inner. That's going to take dancing with that light, dancing with that spark, with that point of light. Right? It's faint. It's out of focus. But once it does, of course, become in focus, it becomes focus itself, right? Focus beyond focus, right? Concentration beyond mental activity or direction,
designation,
or conscious guiding, beyond the conscious objective or whatever. You know, you can't have any sort of goal outside of connecting your breath and a rhythmic cycle in itself. What's interesting about breathing, when you breathe more fully, your breaths become stronger, more wholer breaths. Right? And you can breathe out and breathe in 4 more times each time. Yeah. What started as 3 seconds becomes 6 seconds for it to return into a whole exhale or inhale. How you can get to that even better, how you can build that, is through the cessation of breaths. Is to hold your breath before and after each exhale and inhale. It's how you can better navigate the wholeness of your breath, to where now, like I said, you're centered, you're settled in that activity, in the occurrence, in the exercise that is breathing. You must allow yourself to just be, without whatever sorts of objective, whatever sorts of decision, whatever sorts of thought. You may be thinking, damn, this nigga sounds sexy. I wonder what it would be like if I would just rub this nigga's shoulders. But you gonna think that so many times, and then it ain't happened, and that's not what you're doing. So another thought's gonna come prominent in your mind. You might say to yourself, damn, I want this nigga to just be licking on me. No, I'm just joking. You probably ain't thinking that. That's a lot. Especially if you ain't seen my lips and you're not looking at my lips, you probably wouldn't even be thinking about it. But if you see my lips before, yeah, I know you can't help but have to think that. Aside from all of that, though, all I'm saying is, whatever thoughts are gonna come, and when you don't focus on them, it's what it is that is to be focused. The focus itself is now going to focus on you, right? And that is that inner outer emerging from the outer inner, right? Because the outer inner are those thoughts that are already there that you have to pass in this journey of exploring these breaths. Okay? And that's it's a twofold activity that's happening and procedure that's happening, because you can't get off your breath rhythm, and that takes focus, that takes actual, accounting in itself. That takes at least some sort of aligning in itself. And that's going to also present different thoughts in relation to breathing correctly, right? You're going to think, oh, snap, whatever you're going to think as far as your breath is concerned, and controlling your body, right? For the most part, most generally going to be subconscious thoughts that resurface in relation to your familiarity with your body, right? In relation to your own, security with your body, right? And body image, right? And what's interesting about this is that you're not looking at your body. So your body image pretty much evaporates, right? You're not thinking about the physical appearance of your said person, the vehicle that you're traveling on this journey through. What's going on within your body is what crosses your mind. And it can't help but cross your mind, because through these breaths and through these more completer breaths and wholer breaths and more correct breathing, the nerves in your body is now going to remind you of different imbalances, right? And that's why part of this would be stretching as well to be most effective, right? You got to stretch, you got to reach, right? You know what I mean? And as you stretch, you want to be inhaling and exhaling in different positions. So that's how you do that correctly. It's all connected. It's all related, rather. But as far as you closing your eyes at any moment, or you can keep your eyes open and do what normal niggas do. This is not normal. It's natural, right? But it's not normal. What's normal today is odd. It's extremely imbalanced and unworthy of your focus. Whatever's working for you. But if it's working for you, then you won't have a problem with trying something new, too. And if it's not working for you, that's even more reason to try something else. All I'm saying is, if you're going to try it, you want to probably try it correctly. Otherwise, you can't say that you've given it a consideration that it deserves for you to give it. But yeah, no, just don't worry about whatever else, your body's going to reveal to you whatever else needs to be focused on. You'll feel all that's surrounding you, right? You'll feel all of the moments that led up to the moment that you're spending. You'll feel all of the different thoughts that you ignored on top of thoughts, the different notions and expressions that you replaced with whatever other comment that you've made in conversations, right? You get to speaking to somebody and you was going to say one thing until they said one other thing, and then what you didn't say in that conversation will pop up in your mind. And that in relation to whatever else it was that you meant to say also, or wanted to remember about what it is that you were speaking about that you had forgotten until you took the moment to think, or to not be thinking about whatever else that would be replacing these other thoughts that were more on your heart. But even that is still a transition. It's like the transformation between the inner outer, or rather between the outer inner and the inner outer. Now, what you want to do is you want to make it to the inner outer, because all of the force, all of the signature of who you are and what you do and where you are and how it works and doesn't is incorporated, but how it relates to all of life and all of time anywhere is now more so the charge of it. You know what I mean? It's now more so the path, the very travel in itself. It is yourself inviting yourself. You're gonna meet it meeting you, right? Without having to attempt it. It's just yourself surrendering and releasing to your breath. And what's funny is you're gonna notice there's this very faint light, right? Because you become comfortable in the darkness, right? In the darkness that is your eyes being closed, and the warmth that is the everywhere and nowhere at once, right? And then you'll see, sometimes, especially with breathing and the center and the aligning of your chakras, you start to see different colors, right? That's all involved as well. It's like different colors within the moment, because those are the thoughts, like different. Now that is the rinsing and the cleansing and the purifying of your thoughts in itself is when you see these different colors. Because thoughts, of course, a lot of times when you have memories, you have you see scenarios in your mind. And even if you're imagining something, you see scenarios in relation to what it is that you're thinking about. But that now is melted and merged into all of everything, and that's where you see these colors, right? These bright, different, colorful lights, almost like northern lights almost, but not even so prominent. It's just more of like a fucking halo. It's more of like a, like a screen or whatever. It's like a feeling. It's not even so much of a actual like visual color. It's more of like a feeling, right? I see, you could say, I see purple, I see green. Really, it's just that you feel green, and that's the light, and that's the color that's in your mind. But even then, off in the distance, there's always that spinning bright white light. Okay? Now that's going to stay where it's at until you come to yourself. And as you are now in eternity, right? Because you said to yourself, I'm going to sit here and breathe, and I'm going to enjoy the feeling of these breaths. Now that don't have to stop. There's no reason why that should stop, right? And the point is, when you can do it right, now it feels better and better every breath you take. Okay? You're taking fuller breaths than you ever taken before in your entire life, right? At one point, you was breathing all the oxygen you can get, right? Whenever that was, maybe when you was running track or something, right? Say, for instance, you've been athletic in your life, right? Now that in itself will connect you to what it is that I'm speaking about, as far as even just the extents of your body, right? And the inner body, the subtle body, outside of just your physical makeup or whatever, yes? When you connect your breath with your circulation and your thoughts, right? Because when you're running, you're thinking about things, but also you have to focus on, you have to keep in consideration, nigga, your steps. And let alone if you're doing something even more curricular, like boxing, right? Or bike riding, right? There's all of these different safety little, you know what I mean, little actions you have to keep in order not to hurt yourself, right? It's different than just running. You know, you gotta make sure you step right and don't step wrong on your foot, and you increase your speed however it is that you so particularly choose. But that's that, right? Now, if you're running on a treadmill, you gotta have these little different safety little actions also. But say for instance, you're running on a treadmill and you're doing the speed bag at the same time, right? That's, that's super. That's more coordination going on with that. Let alone, say for instance, you're working with weights, or you're doing some sort of, just whatever sorts of fitness, muscle building. Then it's like, you got to be careful not to overdo it or underdo it, right? You want to try to meet your goal, right? You want to try to meet what it is your expectation is, what it is that you've calculated as the conditioning for this particular activity, because you know your body, right? But that all has to do with breathing correctly anyway. When you build a muscle, you want to be taking breath into your lungs, into your body as you're stressing the muscle. And upon release of the muscle is when you exhale. You feed your muscles with the oxygen, which is why you want to breathe in as you're flexing or squeezing the muscle. All right? Now, if you ain't doing that, then you fucking your breath up already. Okay? Now, through that, which I would imagine, if it is that you like to explore the illustriously wonderful feeling of breathing correctly, which is incomparable to anything, then you're going to be on top of your fitness. You're going to be on top of your metabolism, of your diet. I mean, it's going to lead to that the more you do it. It's just inevitable. It's not necessary. It's not always the case, but like I said, if it's something that you love and it's going to love you back, it's automatically going to be you inviting yourself to your fuller self, right? Life is health, and health is what? Health is wealth, right? So these richer breaths that you're taking are connected to different endeavors and investments of energy, right? They're multiplied by these different investments of energy, like conditioning of different parts of your anatomy, right? Which automatically are going to enhance the wholeness of your breaths, which is the focus. Why? Because through aligning your subtle body, it pulls on that outer inner, which pulls on that outer, right? Outer to the outer inner to the inner outer to the inner. Yes? But there's no outer without the inner already. And that's where you have an imbalance. That's where you have stress on your body when there's less connections with the outer to the inner. Even if you are regular in associating that inner-outer, that's only so as to fully connect and wholly that completer inner, which is only going to happen more and more and better through, of course, the fuller exchange, the more appropriate exchange and considerate exchange that's going to integrate your bones with your nerves, with your tendons, nigga, with your muscles, with your blood, with your glandular secretions, nigga, with your skin and sweat and tears. Yes. This is inevitable. That's the way it's designed. And it's by no accident. It's by no mistake, rather. It truly is a blessing. It's only the edge, though. It's only the edge, right? It's only the edge of eternity, right? It's only the edge of eternity. What you want to do is enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Right? That's what's gonna realize the light that you are, that you would see, right? That you would notice just in not even really worrying about anything else except for Nothing. Right? You need that in your life, yo. It's fine. Whatever else other time can all be dedicated to worrying about all of whatever you can handle. But you're going to need to at some point throughout the day, if it's not throughout the month, if it's not throughout the year, right? You give yourself 2 days a year, right? Look, there's not no reason why you can't do that daily, right? Because that's already a cycle, right? That's already a cycle of 360 seconds times 24, right? So at least 360 in them seconds, yo, which is only an hour. You know what I mean? Concentrate it, you know what I mean? Take back control of the manifestation that's already happening through you. Not really control, but at least guidance, you know? Take back the right to direct. Take back the direction of it. Okay? Because of course that you will be buying time each time you do that, to be honest. Now each second that you have is going to even be that much more extensive and powerful and charged up. Yes? So you'll make it to a point in whatever cycle, right? And it'll probably be the 10th time or the 20th time, maybe even the 5th time. It might even be the first time. But the next time is how you'll be able to see what the actual relation is, because if it doesn't happen to the same intensity, right, to the same propensity on the next time, say for instance, you click into it, something that I said actually resonates with you and it just connects whatever dot, or, you know what I mean? It reveals whatever sorts of holes might have existed in your previous attempts, and nigga, that light just blasts, right? You're able to make it to that. You breathing as long as you like. You taking it, you exhaling and inhaling as long as you like, and that's the trick. Like you'll get to a point where you'll be breathing in, and it's not even that you wouldn't even need to decide to stop, because your thought is all thought, and the only time that you would even return to that thought is so that you can get back to what led you to it, which was the monitoring or the counting, or at least the rhythm, because you're going to go from counting to monitoring, and then you go from monitoring to the rhythm. And this rhythm is not nothing that you have to that you need to try to keep up with, especially once you learn the steps. Right? You learn a dance, and you master the dance. Some music come on, you be dancing without even realizing it. Right? And it's going to take really you taking yourself outside of yourself to even fuck up the dance, to be honest. If you in the groove of it, the dance is you're going to start creating new parts of the dance, Gus. And that's what I'm saying. It's happening. Once your breath is not just a breath no more. Look, it kind of fucked me up the first time I did it, because the first time I did it, I didn't realize that was what it was. I had to get back to it, never even expecting that would be the situation again. Right? But now that I've done it again and again and again, I know what it is that I'm attempting. And that in itself can be distracting if you don't continue. Right? That's that threshold. That's that third time threshold. Right? Because you don't make a correction until you have already confirmed the correction. Right? Because if you go and do the better thing once, then if you fuck up again, then you got to do it again and then again, to where it's not just a fucking spiral. It's now a cycle of growth, right? Of strengthening, of charging. I done did that plenty of times. I done already did it, right? To where now me not doing it is affecting the outer as opposed to the outer affecting the inner. Me, my inner is, I'm always one with my inner at all moments, right? So just that much more, right? I'll bust some push-ups, bust some sit-ups, do a whole full set workout, whoopty-wop, 10 sets or whatever else of 10 sets of 10. I like to try to do 4 sets of 25. But that's when you good. When you know you straight, you ain't got to worry about not, or, you know what I mean, being out of shape or whatever. Me, I'm out of shape at the moment. I'm completely out of shape. Why? Because I used to be fat. A nigga had got up to 300 plus, cuz. You know what I'm saying? And it's not nothing. It don't really make any sort of difference to me. I like to be able to come up off out my shirt and you know, not offend nobody. Yeah, you know, it's like it's just better for the aesthetic. You know what I mean? It's way better for the aesthetic. And you get to, you know what I mean? You can feel the breaths, and also you can also absorb the sun on your skin, all the different areas and crevices, and it's just more complete, man. It's just more complete, man. You know? It just feels a lot more completer for some reason. It ain't got nothing to do with nobody else, right? That's how the body is made. Like, for instance, when you are in the rhythm and in the practice of actually connecting and aligning and balancing, then that's how the body end up looking anyway. So it's like, it's not about the look. It's about the health, right? Health. It's about the purity, right? The cleansing, right? The complete sort of renewal, right? Into a better and a better and a better. You know what I mean? You really shouldn't have too much body fat at all, to be honest, if you are approaching it correctly. I've been to that point too, to where a nigga was ultra skinny because, of course, my appetite is as small as it can be. I fasted 20 plus days without pause in my life, so my appetite is completely shrunken. Right, I can hardly eat nothing. Right, without being full right away, low key. Right, unless it's something that, like vegetables. Right, if I eat like, nigga, just nothing but like fucking just like all vegetables, eggplant and some beets and some, I can eat all of that right on up. I can eat whatever as much as I like, but it's like, you're not here to just eat, right? And you shouldn't be eating just for the taste. It's supposed to be connected to the function and the effect that that food has on your health, right? And once you make that connection, it's more than just physical. It bridges into the mental, into the spiritual, especially if you're already doing that just psychically anyway, especially so, right? You don't find it to where you don't even thought about eating because you were still focused on breathing, right? Especially if you're already creating too, and then it's like, okay, as soon as you get done meditating, you got all these ideas, you want to bring them into life, you want to manifest them, right? You want to cultivate them, right? You want to materialize them, however, whatever sorts of activities, physical activities it relates to. Yes, you get busy doing that. Now, as soon as you get done, of course, you look up, you ain't had no lunch, that's when you enjoy your food even more. And even then, you're going to take a few bites. The flavor going to be so potent. Make sure you know what I mean? You're not supposed to drink while you eat. You want to be digesting your food aside from whatever liquids you take in. Any type of liquids. Then within hours, after hours, even if it's the next day or so, then you want to drink. So that means that you have to be fasting, brother. That means that you have to be fasting to a certain extent. Even if you do intermediate fasting, that's whatever hours throughout the day that you're not eating. That's what intermediate fasting is. Intermediate fasting don't have to be a whole whatever amount of days. You could fast throughout the day for 4 hours, right? I'm not going to eat anything. That's because niggas, that's all we do is fuck around, sit around snacking. That's why you can go to any convenience store, pick up a piece of candy. Let alone a bag of chips, let alone a whole sandwich. Oh shit, I just ate lunch. I'm just getting out. I'm going to just go grab a sandwich real quick. You want a sandwich? I got these slamming sandwiches. Real talk. You want a sandwich? What about a soda? No? You want a Slim Jim? Some beef jerky? No? You good? You want no beef jerky? None of that? All right, for sure, man. I'll be right back. I'm just going to grab me a Slurpee, man. Right? Psst. Right? Have a smoothie in the morning, which is a liquid and food, right? Now you really fucking the game up. That's cold game. Right? You know, fast for 3-4 days out the week, whoopty wop. And on those days in the morning when you wake up, and get your workout in, whoop-de-whoop, get your meditation in. You could do all of that even before you have a smoothie, which is best, because you really want to be on a complete empty stomach when you're meditating. To be honest, that's just the best way to do it. Okay, I'm speaking to you from experience, cuz. And it wasn't that I was trying to get on the level so I could be like, oh, I can tell you some shit. Like I said, the first time I did it, I hadn't realized that that's what was going on, to where I was in my breath past the control of respiration, girl. Okay? Right? Because that's beyond time, girl. You can come back to the moment that you left time, girl, whenever you choose. And you will be at the peak of a perfect breath, cuz. To where even when you come back, you ain't gonna be out of breath, cuz. You can even go right back, nigga, if you jump back and say to yourself, shit, I ain't ready yet. I'm gonna go back into this little zone real quick, man. And get the feeling everything at once right now, yo. Right? But we still living this life, bro. And by the time you get back, you're gonna be saying to yourself, all right, for sure. Well, look, even without realizing this, what it is that you're realizing, you already gonna be initiated in that mode. Your intentions already set from what all of that you already are involved in throughout your life activities, as well as life path and pursuits. Through that opening of the inner, yes, and approaching the light that would be in the dark, it actually is not, because the dark, like I said, becomes light. It becomes the light that you will be seeing coming towards you. You close your eyes, right? And initially it's nothing, you're not going to see nothing. But the longer you sit there looking at nothing, right, you're going to begin to look at nothing, fam. And that's what I'm saying. That is the doorway from the outer inner into the inner outer, right? Because the outer, you ain't got to necessarily close your eyes to take a deep breath and breathe correctly. Right? You ain't necessarily got to close your eyes and get to sit in a sauna and just, center your thoughts, right? Now, when you do, of course, take it to the next level of complete balancing, even if you don't close your eyes or not, nigga, you still gonna be looking at nothing, right? Because your focus is not gonna be on what's in front of you. It's just fucking interesting. You could be sitting there with your eyes open, it'd be as if your eyes was closed, right? Now, right, you can close your eyes so as you're not so distracted, because we're so used to now associating sight with visual, to where you would have to be advanced to see and not see at the same time. But that's super possible. I've done that as well. I do that all the time. Like I'll be sitting up in a trance, right? It's called being in a trance. Your eyes will be sitting up open and you're not looking at what's in front of you, girl. You're looking at what's in your mind, girl. Not necessarily even in your mind, nigga. You're looking at what it is you're choosing to look at that is beyond whatever physical relation. Okay? It's the thing. You never seen a nigga in a trance? Do their eyes be closed? No, they don't. Okay? They gonna fuck around and get to do an experience on niggas to where they could open your eyes for you, to where you can't even blink, right? They keep your eyes moist to where don't, feel me? Just like they did in Clockwork Orange, right? The psychological fucking experiments they was doing on niggas. Right? But they gonna put something in front of your eyes to induce your trance. Right? Now, different colors and different images with your WAP, that's going to induce a psychosomatic trance to where, yeah, you was looking at something because you had no choice, because you could not look away. And that induces a trance. But you could take the wheel yourself and direct your own experience. Right? By focusing on that breath, focusing on cleansing your thoughts, right? Focusing on the all that you are and automatically is already happening, and just living in the moment, living in the very moment, and and extending your breath to where now you can feel more of that air in every part of your inner outer, rather, into the inner, right? But like I said, the first time that I personally particularly did actually reach a point of beyond of controlling your breath, right? Because, bro, I was reading a book. They say this one yogi had his disciples bury him, brother, for months, family. Okay? Because he already had control. He already mastered the procedure, bro. Right? He knew, shit, at any moment I'm gonna click out. But you're aware of time the whole time. Still too. Because it took you breath by breath, cessation of breath, or holding your breath by holding your breath, right? For 7 second increments, or however many second increments that you choose. Is going to be the same, or it's not going to be the same. It's going to be whatever it is you choose. If you want to go hold your breath for 7 seconds, breathe out for 3 seconds, and hold your breath for 12 seconds, and then breathe out for 6 seconds. That's something that's more you would have to keep in mind. It's a whole lot more easier to keep up with if it's the same amount of seconds every time you're breathing in and holding it, and breathing out and holding it. But you can do it however you want. You know what I mean? And what's cool about that is, say for instance, you was to take a different approach to where you change it every time, that would have another trance effect in itself. Okay? And there's different systems of that. And I'm sure there's books on that. But this one particular book I was reading, and this is the facts. This is recorded history, brother. Okay? He had people other than himself to bury him because he can't bury himself, especially while he's in a meditative trance. He said, I am going to click into this trance. Once I click into this trance, I want you to bury me in the ground, nigga, for 3 months. They dug this nigga up 3 months later. Cuz still breathing. Okay? In that one breath, bro. Now the whole time his body has taken over to where he don't have to worry about taking a full and complete breath, bro. So now his body automatically is just pumping, charging like your heart would be, fam. With the right types of nutrients and vitamins and minerals in your blood, that's going to help your heart pump stronger, yes? And push through the different, areas of your vascular structure for the optimal experience, or whatever it is you focusing your kinetic energy on, okay? In the metabolic sort of physical motion of your body, whatever it is you happen to be. Now, if you're sitting up with your legs and arms folded, to where now that is circulating in a system that is accentuating your breath passage up and down your spine, then that will have its own effect in itself. This is what Ka did. Now, as far as his body taking over and him breathing, that's what would have to happen. If you don't breathe for more than however many long, that's your brain is gonna fucking die. Your brain gonna have to have oxygen in it, but you don't have to consciously breathe, as you know. But if you're not consciously connecting your breaths and the fuller function of your respiration, then you're moving toxins through your body. Carbon monoxide or dioxide, to be specific. Right? Because as you exhale your breath, now you're wasting, you're expelling the waste that is also a gas that is different from oxygen. Right? You're supposed to take the oxygen and do all that is needed to do with the oxygen, but we not, because our breaths are in between our thought activity, right? Like, say for instance, even if our body is breathing without us consciously realizing it, which happens automatically every day, until we consciously direct it in a more sort of secure rhythm, right? Because the rhythm don't stop, especially the more that you align it and recalibrate it more correctly. In addition to your physical activity and fitness exercise program, in addition to your metabolic and your metabolic diet, basically, right? Those are the three sides of it. Your diet, your physical activity, and your breathing, the slash thought activity. Right? Now, when you can align those and they're working with each other, off of each other, the unconscious breathing your body automatically will be doing, even outside of your session of meditation, will also be correcting itself as well. This is a situation that they say the soul is trapped within the five winds of the body. Right? That's the chambers of the different sort of correct connections and correlations that you would need to be making in that threefold exchange, basically, that unlock your very soul, they say, right? In this sense, the word soul would be lacking, or actually in reference to spirit, would be actually in correlation and description of spirit more so than just the soul. All right, what's the difference? Well, the spirit's going to have to do with your breathing, and the soul is going to have to do with your mind. And that's the difference between your spirit and your soul. Because before the word air was even created in the Chinese language, it was spirit. Okay, so oxygen is spirit in itself, but in relation to what it is that you fucking do with that oxygen. You understand? Is your spirit. You understand? And these are the facts. Air is a new word. That's a word. And what's cold is they hijacked the Chinese language, nigga, and made a new character for air, okay? For the very reason of the facts of what it is I'm saying to you, cuz. This is the reality, cuz. Okay? So, as far as your mind, and that being your soul, and your breath being your spirit, the soul / spirit is trapped within five what are called vayus, or what is called winds, the five winds, okay? Or the five airs, okay? Now, it's trapped in these five airs if, of course, you don't liberate your soul / spirit through what, nigga? The retributing of this air / spirit through your anatomy, my nigga. These different chambers, through thinking correctly, eating correctly, and exercising correctly, cuz. Right? You can't skip out on the mental part though, bro. And you got to fully do the mental to be fully doing any part of it. Why? Because the mental is the middle, my nigga. Right? It's what bridges, it's the glue of everything between the physical and the spiritual. The spiritual, yes, being the air, yes. But if you are not clearing your mind, brother, then your air is going to be naturally attributed to the different pockets and sections of your body, as well as brain, right? And blood. That is not complete. It can manage, but that's what we call death, basically. That's what we call aging, nigga. That's literally what we call aging, cuz. Low key. Okay? This is, yo, I'm telling you what it is. Right? And that's why they all in Tibet, niggas, hijacking niggas' DNA. That's why you go to Tibet, which a friend of mine told me is the highest part on the planet Earth. Right? It's the highest point on the planet Earth. To the line of Tibet, the border of Tibet start on the most elevated part of the entire Earth, right? That's why you go to the Himalayas, right, which are, I believe, in Tibet. Those are some of the highest mountains, if not Mount Everest. I think Mount Everest is right in China, if it's not in Japan, right? Whoop, my nigga. She told me you'd have to take medicine to go to Tibet. You can't even be in Tibet long without having to recalibrate your body to breathe the air, cuz. You can't even fly into Tibet in a regular airplane, cuz. Right? You got to have special planes because it's a different type of air in Tibet, fam. What do they do in Tibet? They float in the air, fam. They've been already on that tip. Why were they able to go up there? Because they went there already before they went up there. And they went up there to continue it, fam. Yes? And they went up there to continue it, fam. Yes, they went up into the mountains, nigga, to chill out even further, brother. To zen out deeper, fam. And stayed up there. Why? Because they began to fucking float. Why? Because they began to fucking float. Literally, cuz niggas floating to this day, cuz. Until recently, brother. Until they start snatching kids up out of Tibet, cuz, taking them out of the mountains to go teach them some school that they didn't enroll themselves in, cuz. Indoctrinate them in a curriculum that is not even by their choice, traditionally and tribally. This is happening today by the millions, cuz. It's already, they already took all their DNA. Why? Because they finna study that DNA just like they studied the manuscripts of the Chinese people. And they had the word for air was spirit, and they said that's too much of a correlation. Let's change this to air to match the Western, right, idea of souls and spirit, right? Where they get that from? It ain't from no indigenous people, because all the indigenous people will tell you the spirit is the air that you breathe in. It's your air. Even the Native Americans will tell you. The Native Americans, which would be now this modernized West, yes. But that's not the point of what I'm saying. The point of what I'm saying is the first time I did it, I clicked back because somebody said, okay, whoop-de-wop. She was looking at me, realizing I was there, and I probably would have never came back because I was guided there, right? I probably would have remembered, oh shit, I was supposed to have did something, right? And that's the only thing that would have brought me back, right? I came across it one time. I'm walking down the street. I see this fucking store. It say free yoga, learn to do yoga. I said, shit, I ain't never learned how to do yoga, and they not charging you. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop up in here. She sat me down, told me exactly how to sit. By the time I stopped, nigga, there was a smile on my face, nigga, from ear to ear, brother. I could not stop smiling, bro. I couldn't stop smiling, brother. The bliss had taken over, yes. I literally could not stop smiling, bro. You ever be smiling and can't stop smiling? I mean, even if you smiling, you realize you're smiling, you say, okay, well, shit, I'm gonna stop smiling now. Man, that's enough smiling, for whatever reason, shit. I mean, I ain't no taking no pictures or nothing. You know what I mean? I'm a gangster, I'm a thug, so what the fuck? I can't be seen smiling too long. My nigga, I couldn't stop smiling, bro. For a good few hours, nigga, low key. and I didn't even do it again because of that. I was just like, whoa, like, that was a sensation that was unmatched. That was a sensation that you can't even expect. So I was open to investigating it on my own, right? And I was already at least associated with different, higher mind information. You know what I mean? And I'm a big super chiefer stoner, so it's like, I'm. And as well as a spitter, so you gotta have breath control when you're kicking rhymes, and then also when it is, you know what I mean, that you Rastafarian ganja blazer, you got an iron lung anyway, so they'll have those two things going for me, you dig what I mean, when it came to associating the different information or instructions as far as how to attain a certain level of experience. I low-key didn't even follow no other instructions aside from I heard that you're supposed to do it for an elongated amount of time. Somebody said to me, you're supposed to breathe a minute for every year that you live. I'm already 23 plus at this point. I'm already, about 27 by the time I heard that. So that's automatically making it to where nothing else can happen except for I realize that light, my nigga. Because most people meditate 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but they already 20-some years old. You dig? If they meditate more than 4 minutes, 2 minutes. right correctly, right? Without actually sitting there thinking as if they didn't have their eyes closed. As if they didn't do all the stretches in a full, you know what I mean, work down, wind down, cool off, work up a sweat and all type of shit and then meditate, right? They're approaching it like silent thinking, basically, right? Or daydreaming, basically. No, it's not daydreaming, my nigga. It's not. It's your centering your focus, okay? And if you don't know how to focus, this will teach you how to focus better, but you're going to come up out of that focus and you're going to realize where you're choosing not to focus yourself. Right? So, it's a minute for every year you live, nigga, mandatory. Nigga, just to start. Right? I done meditated for four plus hours before. Nigga, I done meditated all day before, okay? I done meditated days straight, nigga, before. Low key. Okay? Why? Because life led me there. Because niggas was so much on other shit to where I'm not finna not take the opportunity, nigga, to not have to be, you know what I'm saying? To be involved with shit, bro. I'm involved with all type shits. But once you take, you know what I'm saying? Once you switch it, brother, niggas are going to back up out your way to show you that you're not really serious about it. But me personally, bro, I'm serious. I didn't do it to try to meet no type of attain anything, brother. I did it because I focus, right? And my focus is precious to me, bro. Why? Because sometimes you don't know what you're going to create, bro. You have to rely on your imagination, bro. You have to rely on your imagination. So anytime I'm actually, you know what I mean, more acquainted and just better sort of situated and open focus shit, and I'm about that, bro. Right? Because every little drop of that, my nigga, is spreading to anything else. Right? You know what I mean? I want to be able to mac abroad. I want to be able to, you know what I'm saying? Game a hoe up. I want to be able to, I'm a big flirter. Every time I see a new broad, I want to say something new. I ain't never said to no other chick. So if I'm speaking to you, that means I'm going to say something new to you. I ain't be able to say it to nobody else ever in life. Right? But the more I feel focused, meditate, that's the more bitches I can meet. And I ain't got to waste my fucking pickup lines on. I mean, I ain't thinking about it like that. But it's just who I am, you understand me? It's just how it happens. You're going to run into someone's life God gonna bring whoever in front of you, man. You know what I mean? Unless it ain't God bringing their ass in front of you. And that's when you don't say shit to them. Right? Unless you just being senseless anyway. And I'm a senseless individual. On top of whatever else. I'm involved anyway, you know what I mean? Niggas have moved out the way, but see what's cold is obviously now niggas ain't never too far out the way. They just want to make sure that that you serious, that you know you serious about what it is that you have the opportunity and opening to actually engage in, right? Because it may end up taking time that you have already devoted to whatever else, and that's not fair to you or whoever else that's involved at that time. You know, that's just how it is. You know what I mean? When the door closes, a window open. Right? But if you don't close that window, the door ain't gonna stay closed the whole time. So now you got a window and a door open. And that's more ventilation. You get what I'm saying? Until you close the door, right? Because this window got a screen on it. Unless you got a screen on your door too, and then you're good to go. But you still get cold, you know what I mean? You don't want so much of the air going up out of the house, you know what I mean? But you can't have it all stuffy either way, so you're going to have one of them open, if not both of them at the same time. But you're going to have one of them before you can have both of them. Right? And it's usually going to be that window. If that's something different, other than just the regular opening, that would be the door or whatever. You know? So I encourage you to take a moment with moments, because you want to get to a point to where your body takes over for you, right? And you're now breathing. And what's cold is about even what I'm saying to you. It's not even that your body is breathing for you. You are able to match the spirit with the body through the mind, and you're breathing in and out at the same time, right? That takes and the cessation of the breath it's actually a mixture of like holding your breath between breaths, and then speeding that up, basically booting that up to where now you can hold your breath. As you begin to hold your breath, now you didn't take a breath in, and before you even take the breath all the way in, you hold your breath again, and then you breathe a breath out, and then before you even get to doing any of them, you're doing all of them, because you're starting and ending them. You're starting them all at the same time, basically. You're starting them even between the time of the time, basically. You know, because you're associated with the time between the seconds, right? Because even if you go to 7 seconds, it's like a, you know what I mean? It's like a real full second. You know what I mean? You don't always stop soon. You probably want to stop soon as you get to that 7. Go to 7, blah. And no matter how much breath you could take in and it feel as good, you want to save it. Hold it. Let it on out. And especially if you was ready to breathe all the way in some more, when you exhale, that's going to be a shorter exhale for the most part. But then when you stick to that, to the actual, the numbers in it, when you stick to the actual time to exhale, it's going to change it. You know, it's going to balance it. It's going to level it out. And that's how you can get to a point to where the exhale it's including your inhale, which is impossible, but it actually ain't impossible. It's just next level. It's advanced. I believe that's how we're supposed to be walking around. I believe that's how we're supposed to be walking around. Not, but, right? We got these niggas doing opera. You feel me? That's what they doing. They gotta breathe. They gotta learn how to breathe in and out to do them notes, bro. And because you can't be breathing in while you're doing a note, but you can. If you're an opera singer, you know how to do that. It's not all one exhale in those notes, bro. Right? It's a continuous sound which takes an exhalation to make a sound. But you can be making a sound in the inhale as well, just like you can whistle by breathing in as opposed to blowing out. Like, that's breathing in. That's breathing out. You dig? That's the same sort of principle involved. But it's a little bit different to where now it's breathing in and out at the same time. Because it's not even about just the sound, bro. You're not making no sound at that point. You wouldn't be making the sound, so the energy going into the sound, right, is now retributed into the connection of the exhale and the inhale, basically. In enough senses, and like I said, I'm telling you the truth. The first time I did it, I was surprised, but I wasn't, because like I said, I had got to that point without realizing that is what was going on. So then I got to it and I was like, oh snap, okay, I gotta be careful. You gotta be real careful, you know, because that's not supposed to be happening unless it's happening, you know? And that's why a lot of people do actually get to a particular level in yoga, and they kind of peak, they plateau at a particular level because they don't make the differentiation between what really all is going on. A part of it is that your body, your mind separates from your body to where now you're not even so worried or concerned with the connection of your breaths and the fuller wholeness of your breaths, because that's something you've already mastered. That's something that you're subconsciously familiar with more and more. The more you do it, the longer you spend doing it. And so now your spirit sort of now can blossom, right? Like those lotus chakras, right? The 100,000 petal chakra, that is, of course, that spirit chakra, basically. The crystal chakra above all the chakras, right? The 8th chakra leading into the next chakras, right? Which some people say it's 360 chakras. You know what I mean? Those are all them fingers on all of them arms of the subtle body, right? The main chakras are just a layer, right? That whatever other supposed would be considered chakras now are connected to. Like, for instance, you got a level, then you got a sub-level, right? Like, okay, say for instance, you go through a portal, but that portal is a portal to tunnels to, like, you take one tunnel to a portal, and it's just one tunnel. But while you get to the next layer or level of chakras in this particular existence, you have to go through that first portal, which you're going to take the first 7 chakras technically to get to that portal, which would be that top crystal chakra with the 8th chakra. But you can start rarely at the 8th chakra, because see, what's cool about the 8th chakra is that the 8th chakra, right, integrates all of the chakras. It's not really an 8th, it's just really sort of like the fuller chakras. You know what I mean? And as you become most acquainted with that 8th fuller chakra, then it's going to associate, you're going to be best associated with all of the chakras in each of the chakras, right? Suppose it said, quote unquote, chakras, right? Which are really just portals in themselves to another then extended system of tunnels connected to simultaneous, numerous chakras, all leading to the first portal, right? But also leading from the first portal, right? You dig what I mean? From the source through those many different 360 portals into a tubular sort of meeting at each of the main chakras. But it's supposed to do a full circulation in either direction. You dig what I mean? Yeah, and that's how you can levitate, just like the niggas in Tibet, you know what I mean? Which is a real thing. But you would never know the difference because they're going to obliterate it out of public record. Just like they did the word air, or rather the word spirit, the Chinese character for air, which was originally spirit, they changed it to a new, completely another word that's not even in the Chinese language. It's an English / whatever origin of that word air that they put into the Chinese language and changed what meant instead to this new word.
Respiration.
Okay?
Respiration.
So, the breathing in and out, merging, happens also. It's 2 things that happens. Your body will take over towards respirating on its own. That means that you're taking in as much air as your body needs, right? Because sometimes you don't need 7 seconds of air, but you still just calibrating your association with the points of contact, right? And that's where now, wherever your body could use, and you know what I mean, whatever extra air, because really what happens just through survival mode and just materially, when you breathe in, being that ain't no telling when you're going to take the next breath and when you should be taking the next breath, because you could be in the middle of a fucking conversation like I just been saying this whole sentence to you this whole time, and it's been about 13 seconds, close to about 7 seconds. I'm about to run up out of breath. That's the same thing happening when you're thinking about things. And what's cold about that is when it comes to thinking, you don't necessarily run out of breath because you're not exerting the breath. You're just not breathing when you would breathe because you're distracted. Right? With a part of what it is you're thinking about that you're, for whatever reason, disconnected from or restricted from being able to explore usually. And then that expands into other parts of other thoughts that you usually wouldn't have the time to think about because you're so constrained into this particular context of whatever regular thoughts that you're breathing through, basically. But the body is going to do what it needs to do, even though it's aging and doing less of what it needs to do, the more that you allow that to continue to happen. Right? That's why your lungs, your pancreas go without whatever air it needs to, you know what I'm saying, and do more with, because of course, nigga, you only took so much of a breath, and then you started exhaling for 3 times as long as you took that last breath, and then the next breath you took was shorter because you got distracted or surprised by whatever the fuck else. Right? Because niggas trying to catch you off guard and shit to make sure you cool as you need to be and shit. You know what I'm saying? Right? So then your fucking bones only get so much air because your brain need as much air as it can get so as to direct the body on what to go do, right? Because really, actually, hormones direct the body, but the hormones got the DNA in it, and DNA is the information as to how to do what it is that it's directed to do by what? By your brain. Okay? By those two main glands that's in your brain, right? Because what make hormones are glands. And hormones what? Direct your organs. Okay? So your glandular system, which is called the endocrine system, is directed for the most part through your brain, but your brain works with your heart, which works with your air. Okay? So that's why brain waves induced by particular breath activity now integrates more smoothly and more balanced the natural functions of your body, even starting with breathing itself. When it is, of course, we take ourselves out of the proper direction of our mental activity and get to losing our breath, basically. Yeah, so this is all essential. This is unavoidable. This is the answer to every question, right? You can take another person's word for it, but the validity of their very statement in itself is going to be based on what exactly? Academics? Or what? Religiosity? What? Either way, that's still concentration. Okay? Now, the validity of a person's word as to whatever answer to whatever question is going to be based on their intelligibility of their said knowledge of facts, which would be science, or truth, which would be religion. Okay? It's all going to return to how sharp, how in the know, how informed, and how experienced these people are in applying this particular information or instructions. Okay? Now, the only thing that's going to make a difference between that person and you is the time that they have had to do what they have done or haven't done. That means if they 10 years older than you, they're supposed to be that much more multiplied certain on what it is they're going to tell you. They're supposed to be. Right? But if they've been taking another person's word that was less and less certain throughout the times of generation, then they just that much more multiplied uncertain and unknowingly uncertain. But see, that's the thing about certainty. You know if you're certain or not. Right? And even if you think you're certain, you know you only think that you're certain. Right? No matter how much you think you're certain. And that's the trick between knowing and thinking, right? Because even when you know, or you could say that it is more so that you know you're certain, there's no way to prove that to anyone else anyway. Right? Now, when it comes to whatever relation between your truth and another person's truth, or what you know to be facts or reality and what they believe or know to be reality, there's a way to bypass the importance of any of that. And that is to respect each person's space. That is to respect each person's space, nigga. To where it doesn't need to matter unless you want it to. And you are invited otherwise into a person's space to share that space with them. And even that has its contingencies as well as its limitations as well as parameters, yes? The parameters of which, of course, those two said people would then agree on. regardless of what knowledge they got about whatever fuller truth enough other people going to agree to or not. Or you either agree to that mattering to you or you don't. And you should have the liberty to make that decision for yourself. To begin with, whatever society, whatever social system is implemented and enforced and you know what I mean? Calibrated and attributed, right? We have our own system though, right? We have our own system of sequences, yes? And it comes down to the very thoughts in themselves that we only have so much time to even entertain, right? We have a myriad of countless thoughts that influence the very thoughts that we have to choose from within our brain, right? Now, the reconnection to that comes from how much associating with thinking we are doing on this outer level. Because you can be having all these thoughts in your brain, which you always having all these thoughts in your brain. That's what an imagination is. That's what the imagination is all of these different would-be said, quote unquote, thoughts that you can have is the imagination. Right? And the more you imagine, the more associated with thoughts you become. Even if you don't necessarily particularly choose to pull whatever said would be thought or idea out of the imagination. Until, of course, it's juicy with imagination. Like, I'm subconsciously thinking of thoughts, right? And if I was to say what it is I'm thinking, then okay, I'll say, well, look, if you were to get me started on it, you'd be like, damn, cuz you so imaginative. No, I was just sitting here thinking about it for a second. I was just sitting there thinking about it longer than I was thinking about the fact that I was thinking about it low key. I wish I'm automatically thinking about the fact that I'm thinking about it to be thinking about it at all, but I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm thinking about it. Why? Because you ain't asked me nothing about it. Why? Because I ain't wrote it down nowhere, apart from you asking me about it. Why? Because I haven't decided to move on what it takes to manifest, materialize what it is I'm thinking about, yet. And if I don't ever, by the time I do, it's going to apply to many other thoughts that anybody could ever have, especially if I'm sitting up reading, especially if I take that imagination and I go write some words down, right? Because that's thoughts in itself, right? On paper, thoughts on paper. What? Well, that's what whoever else you would ask for an answer is going to refer to, cuz. Whether it be science or religion, nigga, it's some fucking thoughts on paper, nigga. Regardless, cuz. So that's a structure that's been substructured, right? Right? In both directions is what I'm saying. In both directions, right? You can approach it from the source or you can approach it from the circumference, right? But there's no circumference without the source, right? That's how the 7 chakras can be really the center, right? But it's actually really the surface, low-key, right? Because each of those chakras are connected to these different would be considered sub chakras. But see, really, it's only just really more ways to take that same application, which has a universal applicability in any whatever sort of application that you would assign it, right? And it's already been sort of identified and specified, rather classified for us so as to make it a little bit more simpler to reassociate what we already would be doing on our own, right? So you can't take too much of another person's word without realizing that you're thinking about thoughts. Okay? That's the situation. Why you want to ask them? Who they gonna ask? Well, shit, you might as well just go right to the source. right? If you don't want to take the time to do that, then you're mixing yourself up to begin with, right? You taking one chakra to another chakra when who's to say what direction you go from any particular chakra? The root is the bottom, supposedly, right? You can go nowhere too much from there but up, right? So that's usually where motherfuckers start. But like I said, bro, you have to start in the heart, go to the root, then come back up to the heart. Right? Now, if you already are doing a particular activity, if you got some sort of objective in mind that has to do more so with your physical, right? Then that's when you could also incorporate starting with your root and becoming more associated with the material senses and, you know, doing whatever you want with that from there. But it's different sequences. There's always other elaborative procedures that relate in the ways that they relate. So, the thought, the breath, and the fluids, you know, it's the fluids, man. You know, whatever you eat, that's going to be whatever sugar intake. It's going to be whatever sorts of calories, or rather cholesterol / enzymes / minerals, vitamins, right? That's the fluids. Water in itself. Everything that you can eat gonna have an element of water in it, right? If it even has got all these carbohydrates and grease in it, oil has its own composition of water in it in itself. They say oil and water don't mix, but there's nothing that exists that is not water, except for maybe some oil, right? But even that's gonna have whatever type of, right, lack of water in it, and that's going to correlate with whatever other range of substances that are involved into the digestion fucking process that has more or less water in it, right? Down to water itself, right? If you're taking water, right, that's got 90 to 100% water in it. It's water, right? But if you drink or you eat some oil, say you literally digest some castor oil, straight oil, right? And that in itself does something to your digestion, fam, in relation to the water in your body. Because of whatever lack of water or consistency element of water included in that particular substance, which is really a liquid. But it's a substance in itself. You know, for me, lettuce is a substance, but it's nothing but water. Anything you eat, even meat, is going to be whatever water and not water, which is not nothing but water. It's just more or less of the water and whatever it is that it is. Whatever else is it, different degrees of other things that also wouldn't have water in it. Okay, and this is the five elements, no? This is the 5 elements as far as wood, metal, water, air, and fire. All right, this is the Chinese chart. This is the Chinese chart. Because, say for instance, you eat some meat, it's going to have iron in it. That's a metal. Okay. Now the wood is what the tree is going to be. What the herbs? Yes. Air's not herbs. Water's not necessarily herbs, and fire's not herbs. That's that tree. That's that herb. That's that vegetation. Now, what is a herb? That's medicine in itself. That's fibers right there, right? That's minerals in itself, right? Because you got crystals, which will give you minerals. I mean, then you also got metals, right? And which are a lot of times got minerals in them. But there's different types of minerals. There's that earth, or rather that wood mineral, and then you got that metal mineral, right? Water in itself gonna have minerals in it. Air gonna have, I don't know how many minerals air got in it, but it's just different degrees, right? What's more heavy? Do it got more so of this or less so of this? And that's what makes the elements. Because all elements is made up of what? Atoms, nigga. To begin with. It's just the concentration. And what is the concentration? It's the focus. Yes, it's the collection through sequences. Now that we are in this time realm, that's how carbon make diamond is over time. Okay? The pressure, yes. The condensation, yes. That's all included in the very composition that makes whatever substance into the next substance and refines it into a more evolved, advanced version of itself. So that's what we're doing. We're alchemizing our thoughts. We're alchemizing the soul/spirit through the alchemizing of our breath /thinking/breathing. And you're going to see a light. And you're going to look at the light even though your eyes are closed, right? And what's funny is like you're looking at it with your subtle eyes, basically, right? With your soul, basically, with your spirit. Well, not really the spirit, because see, once you lock on it, basically, is when your spirit is now connected. It's more of a connection with the soul and the spirit, which the soul would be the mental, and the spirit would be that breath, right? Would be the different chambers of mental that are unlocked through the physical, right? Right, because you got psychic and then you got mental, right? Right, the mental is going to be your actual brain. That's what's happening in your mentality. Your psychic activity is going to connect your brain through your soul, which is actually the psyche, that's why the word psyche means soul, to the spirit, which is actually that air reconnecting to that mental, which would be the physical brain. Okay, there's no set difference between the mental and the psychic unless you separated the mental and the psychic, right? Because the psychic is going to automatically involve that touch of spirit already, right? To a whatever degree, more or less. Yes, it can be a baby bit, and then, but if it's any at all, then it's not only just mental, it's psychic. Psychic activity is not, you can read thoughts. It's something that you can do with it. Yes, it's a way to identify the application of life and energy and soul and heart, right? Even through the blood and the air in the blood, right? Because blood now has the blood got the fire in it, bro. The blood got the fire in it. Okay. Now, what's cold about it is I'm mentioning to you about connecting the spirit with the soul with the mental, right? The psychic with the mental, because that's where a lot of people get kind of confused, is with the mental and the psychic. It's not really a difference, but it only is elaborated, or rather, it only can blossom. It only can expand with the right sort of breathing, because that breathing is what's going to spread to all parts of your body, right? Because your brain is a part of your body. Okay? Without your brain, it don't matter what part of your body, but being that you're thinking and it's working somewhere, and that somewhere is the body. So that's that first chamber, that's that first layer, right? And how many parts of the body is way more than 7, right? But it's about 7 to 9 particular glands that make the hormones that direct the functions of the different parts of that body, which are innumerable. Like those different fucking tunnels, right? Like those different pathways from those particular doorways, which are the chakras. Right? The door is going to lead to many, many paths, right? You open the door, it's low-key going to have it's going to be to a hallway with many other doors, a hallway full of doors, right? Now, I'm not going to go into where those doors would lead to in that hallway, because they all gonna lead back to the hallway eventually. Right? Wherever you go in that door is gonna come right back out that door back to that hallway. Okay? But that's only one level of whatever particular building, which would be not necessarily just your physical body, but your subtle body and your astral body. Okay? Now you're on the subtle layer. Once you go through that first physical door, that hallway is the subtle body paths, basically pathways, right? It's the different sequences of breathing, low keys, each of them doors. You know what I'm saying? And thinking and breathing. Right? Like I said, though, you go through the door, you're going to have to come back out whatever door, even if it's a different door you come out of, you're going to come out back into that subtle body level hallway. You know what I'm saying? Now, that same hallway, lined with doors, is leading to a stairway, which is through another door at the end of that hallway or wherever part of that level. Right? It might be left, it might be right, it might be around the full hallway. The hallway might be circular, nigga. And one of them doors at a hallway, nigga, actually lead to the staircase, nigga. Right? Because the hallway is going around the staircase in the center of this building, which is, nigga, realization, which is awakening. Right? Which is the integration of all three levels, right? Because the staircase is going to lead you to either of these levels, but it's also going to take you to the deck at the top of this building, right? Now you can traverse through the deck, through the window on the roof into any of these rooms, on any of these levels, without taking the stairway, right? Okay, you get to the deck, then it's monitors from inside of each of the rooms on top of the deck. So you can go in a room if you want to explore it, you know what I mean? Just for kicks, for novelty. But you get to the deck, then you're good. You experience whatever's there. Or at least you're going to be aware of it, because there's no experience without the fuller experience, is what I'm saying. And you'll be able to see exactly how it associates and applies, basically. Right? You get in that hallway through that first main door, which would be whatever of the 7 chakras. It's going to be, nigga, 70 to 100 different other doors, maybe 12 different other doors behind each chakra. However, you go in that hallway, it's a circular hallway. One of them doors actually lead to a staircase. But you're not going to know that unless you go through every one of them doors, guys. And back up out wherever that door leads you, guys. That means completing your session and becoming fully acquainted with the layout, right? You know, you go into the door, it's going to lead you to a particular area. That area is going to be connected to whatever other area that was going to be connected to whatever other door. Now, however many windows in that and how many windows is open, that's a whole nother story. Whoever up in that fucking area, when you get up in there, is a whole nother story too. Okay, if you're going to bring them with you, if y'all going to get involved or whatever other activity before you know what I'm saying, make your way up out of that area, then that's a whole nother situation. Okay? Right? If they gonna come with you once you come up out of that area, if you was there to meet them, they can bring them along or not. Or they gonna block you, nigga, from, you know what I'm saying? And you got to go back up out of the same door you went up into and not see what other door leads to the same area or not. Right? Either way, if that door don't lead to a staircase, then you got to come up out of that area anyway. Right? And it may not even be a door that leads to the staircase. You might just, you know what I'm saying, end up coming across the staircase, right? It was just right there the whole time. That's that spinning spiral, basically. This is really an elevator. It's going to take you whatever level you want to go on to, depending on where it is that you realize. Because once you get up in that elevator, you're good to go. You don't even have to realize, you don't have to remember nothing until you choose to. Right? And when you remember something, that's where you're going to end up in whatever one of them areas. I would say room, but a room is an area. right? And a room can be connected to whatever else. It may not even have no ceiling in this particular room, right? The hallway got a ceiling. You go into the room, the room ain't got the ceiling. So it's not really even really a room. It's just a door to an area, depending on the structure of this building, which is going to be structured differently for everybody. That's why you can't follow the 7 chakra system like that, right? It's only a reference. It's a door to different hallways, low key. Right, and that takes a little bit of time, right? It takes the time that we're not taking to do it, right? The good thing about it is the time that we are distributing and devoting towards that proper and more completer and wholer distribution, it takes less time for that because it's really not even time, right? It's only time in us taking the time and not just spending the time, which is the same thing, but it's all on how you approach it. The actual event and the experience of it is all integrated in the right directions. Because you can have one path, but if you're not going the right direction, then you're always going to have to reverse in order to make any advancements. And that's that hallway with all those doors, right? You can go through that door once you pop through that chakra first main door, right? Even if you got the key to get through the first door, right? Because you can circulate in that lobby, waiting for the manager, for the landlord to come meet you with the key. And that's what really be happening when they say, aligning your chakras. Once you're aligning your chakras, now you got the key to go into each of those chakras. Right? It's a redistribution from the bottom to the top to the bottom. Really is from the center throughout all of them, low key. You dig what I mean? It's very imperative. It's very integral to take that route and that path and method. Because all chakras are essential to each of the chakras is the part. Especially if that you're breaking it up. But as far as that light though, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna notice it. Right? And like I said, as far as that hallway, those doors, you're gonna go through each of them doors, but if you ain't going in the right direction, then you're gonna get lost. Right?
It fucked me up.
You're gonna be coming back through the same door you went into, as opposed to exploring that entire area and letting that take you to another door that you would have went into and had to come out of whatever door that you had went into the first time, right? So you're gonna go in and it's gonna sometimes it be connected to more other doors. The one door you go into, bro. So if you're not directing your energy back to source energy the whole time, right? Because a lot of times you be doing these mantras and it be specified on strengthening an area that is connected to whatever other life activities that this particular yogi designed with that in mind tens of thousands of years ago, right? And that's a lot of times the different schools of yoga. It's just different effects of the different areas of this particular level of the subtle body. But you got the astral body, and you'll notice is that's going to be the connector of most of the schools of yoga is once you get into the astral activities. You dig what I'm saying? So you go through these doors. That door could lead to you go to the right door, nigga. It might lead that area that it leads you to might connect to all the other doors in the same hallway, or it might just go to another door. One other door, or 2 or 3 other doors, however many. But it's all about. It depends. It's contingent upon how many doors it is, right? Because that means, nigga, you have to not keep in mind, but at least be focused enough, which would be keeping it in mind, yes, right? To the whole experience of it, to associating and identifying with the signature essence of the experience in itself. that means that you are accustomed to focusing. That is, you are accustomed to attributing your mental activity to psychic applications, because the subtle body is beyond sensation, but you're going to be able to identify, or rather signaturize and associate, associate, classify the nature of the subtle body components through the sensational reference that each area of that level, which would be those different doors, applies to, right? Sometimes the sensation is strong enough to include several other doors, if not all the other doors. But through that, then you're going to be able to see, okay, how many other areas, and which of these areas is more so or less so of this and that. And that's just so that you can, experience it, so you can explore the experience from every angle, right? Because that's always an option, right? That's always optional to do. But that's not necessarily the objective, right? The objective is what it is that you want. It's you feeling most like yourself, right? And you might be feeling really good, and so you want to get back to that the next time you feel me? You do your joint and you make the connections by going through that same door, bro. But are you exploring that area completely, or are you just getting up in there, sitting down, and just starting to meditate in that area? When you're supposed to make it to the roof, nigga, before you sit down. Yeah. And that's that full breath, bro. That's those full breaths, bro. The breath is going to guide you, because that's the spirit in itself. The top level is the spirit. The psychic is the doors, or rather the different levels, right? The mentality is going to be those doors, right? And then, of course, the physical is the building in itself, right? Low key. Like I said, we are not in control of our own bodies, man. Right? Literally, quite literally. You know what I'm saying? But the building is on land, and the land is the earth in itself, right? All of earth. You dig what I'm saying? And that's how you connect, is through nature. You dig what I'm saying? Like a lot of times, as far as like you taking the time to just live your life, live your day in whatever environment that you're in, that's going to bring to you different ideas. That's going to bring to you different, inspirations, and that's going to bypass whatever levels, right? You're going to go straight to the staircase in that case. A lot of times when it's the most organic and natural. You might even find a key in the hallway to another door that you didn't have the key to, right? Passing, not even just worrying about going into whatever other door. And because you wouldn't even seen the key, whatever other time, maybe the key wasn't even there because you was too focused on going into the door that you got the key to. Right, which you got to do that, but you got to go through that whole area, see what you got to go and survey every wall that's encapsulating that particular area, because you're going to be able to sense that if it's not the roof. But a lot of times it takes you getting to the roof to even know the difference, man. But you're going to be able to sense what is more or less of what it is or ain't. And those are those walls behind those particular doors in that hallway. Right, so you go through the door, or not, right? The door might be open. You just look in the door, right? And you see, oh snap, that's the door I would have went into if I would have went through the door that's next to it, right? Or I know that area because I went through that other door last time. Oh snap, must be connected to that because that's where I was at last time, right? I did this meditation for the exact minutes that I needed to and plus. And, life was able to happen while I was living. And I was able to make the connection through the bridge, through the different sequences and cycles that already exist. And I know that's familiar. I remember that painting on the wall. Oh, snap. Okay, that's dope. Okay, well, shit, now these doors, some of these areas must be connected. I know for sure I don't always go through the same door when I come up out of this area, because last time I actually came up out of an area. I let myself come up out of an area and I had just realized that I came through a different door into the same hallway. Right? So that was interesting. And this whole time, once I get back in the hallway, I remember that light. I'll be seeing that light there. That spinning light comes back when I get into the hallway. Right? So, okay, well, this is the whole part about the light, though, right? It's there. It's really you. Right? And when you realize it, when you remember to notice it, right? Because me, sometimes I say, what's funny is like, right? What's funny, right? And it's really a special type of experience. It's really a special occurrence. It's a special sort of connection. Hold on, I'm gonna save this. And it really is really beautiful, man. And it really is really beautiful. It's a miracle, man. It's a miracle, man. Nothing's gonna keep us from this but us. That's something I know. This is what it is. I done seen a lot of shit in my life. I done been many places in my life, different areas in my life, guys. That I did the same thing. I had to keep my hand to the left wall and get on through that area before I dwelled in that area, because the room might change, and you ain't gonna know that the room is changing, nigga, unless you done been through all the different parts of the room, the exit and the enter of that room or that area. If you don't find the exit of that area before you dwell in that area, then you may never find the exit. Right? Because even the exit, well, the only other way out, which sometimes the exit is the entrance. Sometimes, I mean, for the most part, a room is gonna have one fucking door, but every room don't have just one door. Okay, you dig what I'm saying? Sometimes a room got a hidden door in it. Okay, sometimes a area got a door in the floor, a door in the ceiling, behind the chandelier and shit, bro. Sometimes the paintings have eyes, because it's another hallway behind a wall within this particular area, cuz. That's the whole thing about them doors and them hallways. You're gonna see that staircase always there, but see, the thing about it is you let yourself forget about it, because it's not supposed to be like a conscious sort of choice so much. But it can be, because I've actually determined to. I would say to myself, you ain't getting away from me. Fuck you feel like you're going. Right? Because you'll look at this shit and the shit, it'll disappear on your ass. Oh snap. And then what's funny is it's not even that it disappears. It's just it's kind of like moving, but it's not moving. It's like it's blinking. It's blinking here and there at the same time, but then it's like as soon as you look as to where it would have been gone, because of course where you was focusing on, it's not just one place, it's the whole part. It's not in just one area. Right? So you're not going to be able to pinpoint it until you're ready. Right? Until you just allow it not to leave you. That's how the only way you chase it down is you allow it not to leave you. Or you allow it, because it's never going to go nowhere. And the part about it is like, right, it's all in your breathing. It's all in your breathing. Because you can fuck around and let it distract you. Take your mind off of actually breathing, right? And when you breathe in and out is when it just completely engulfs you. You become the light. It's so bright that it's not even necessarily gone. It's just, you're just home. You're just there. It is everything already. right? And then by that point though, that's when you in your breath. Okay, that's when your breath is eternal, right? And the only thing that's gonna take you out of that eternal breath, nigga, is one, remembering, oh snap, let me try to find this. But you already know that you don't have to find it because it's really just an instant thing. All you gotta do is, oh snap, I see it. Now I remember where it is, what it is that I'm doing. But for the most part, you be enjoying the breath. So it's really like you gotta allow yourself to remember to forget. Because you automatically are forgetting, but you're not consciously forgetting. Right, and that's when it pops up, is when you're subconsciously forgetting. Like, oh yeah, remember you're supposed to forget. Wait, remember to forget. And a lot of times, then that's when a whole nother flood of the different thoughts that you didn't ignore to the whole thing come back, and you gotta ignore them again. And then in the meantime, you see in colors maybe, or you don't, or you just forget to even notice the light that's spinning there until you get done cleansing those new recurrent thoughts again. It just happens. This is what be happening. Unless, nigga, you've been out meditating, nigga, that whole month, nigga, and you just, as soon as you close your eyes, it's just whoosh, you ain't even gotta worry about seeing nothing. You just, you everywhere at once, nigga. You feel me? Your body doing what it's doing. Your breaths is forever, nigga. You literally having forever breaths, cuz, like, you just feeding every nerve in your body, bro. Every synapse, every neuron, every photon and phonon in your body, man. Each of them is getting their own little separate little, you know what I mean, portion of air, little service, nigga, of pure, crisp spirit, right? Without you having to try to figure it out and move it from this to that, you know what I mean? And you did, like, that's all happening anyway, right? The body's gonna show you what it needs, but it's gonna show you before it shows you, your conscious mind, because your mind is already operating in that it is a brain that makes it operate. And that's how the body shows the brain before it shows you. So you don't need to try to follow it. You just gotta stay focused on what makes it possible for it to be complete. And that is, of course, getting that air in there, because that's the one thing we don't be doing, is breathing more and more. Right? If it's, say for instance, imagine that we could connect and lock that air in, or that distribution of air, that regulation and circulation of respiration, to where it automatically is growing involuntarily through the thoughts we're having. What is that going to take? Well, it's going to take something very specific. It's going to take your regular practice to more so, but it's also going to take that thinking that we're doing being more psychic as opposed to mental, you know, for one, until it can be spiritual at all times. Now, what's the function for that? Well, shit, man, life is going to happen anyway. Life is going to bring to you what it is you deserve to have. Now, if you want what you don't deserve, then that becomes what you deserve. Anyway. Right? So it's all about wanting what wants you. Right? Now, we can be confused as far as exactly what it is actually that wants us. But through living, through experiences, you see the difference. Right? More so or less. And that goes with everything. That goes with the very breaths you're taking. Like, you can want to take a big, deep breath, but sometimes that's not what wants you. That's not what your body wants. Right? You can be in the middle of, you know, having calibrated and formulated and balanced all of your breathing to where every breath you take is extreme. Is it not really extreme, but it's just like advanced. length, extended rather. But at one point, you're going to begin to do what is called dragon breathing, where you pop in your breaths, where you pump in your breath, like just to catch the rhythm of a more deserved breath to take. You know, sometimes you just kind of like gotta kind of like shock, kind of like flash your nerves with the breath. It's like dribbling. You know what I'm saying? You don't dribble the same distance from the ground every time you dribble, right? Sometimes you got to dribble. You start with a larger bounce, but then you catch the force of that larger dribble into a faster dribble closer to the ground, right? But you move in your body. You know what I'm saying? You shift in your limbs and the rhythm of your steps, the operation of your, you know what I mean, your performance through the dribbling. All right, but you start with the dribbling. You walk away you walk around in a standard sort of just pattern line, learning to dribble for the most part to become accomplished at dribbles, you know. And you take that knowledge of your association with the distance and the actual force of your push to the ground, right? You push it harder, but you keep it at the same level, and that gives you another distribution association reference. But then you know the moves, right? To really actually be able to become best associated is not dribbling with the moves, and that's how you got to practice outside of the actual game, because you can't travel in your practicing. In the actual game, you can't travel. But you gotta know your dribbling. You're gonna have to be able to not have to dribble in order to know where to best dribble at. You dig? Because you gotta now perfect your moves. You gotta perfect your, your slamming, your actual, your actual netting, your actual scoring. You gotta be able to attribute the different ranges of distances from your spot to the arch of your actual shot. But then you have to also, you want to play into where it's necessary for you to dribble, because then you use that momentum of that dribble, and that's always going to have an effect on your actual shot in itself and your arching. But only once you know the difference between having a dribble and not having a dribble. And that's that breathing. You know what I'm saying? That dribble, the practice dribbling you're doing and the practice moving you're doing, the moving you're doing is that scoring. And the scoring in this particular sense would be the mental activity, right? Because it's hard to focus on your breath and focus on not thinking about things sometimes. All right? That's why you start with your breath, which would be the dribbling, right? Because if you learn your moves before you dribble, you're going to be distracted by your move, and you might end up traveling in a real game, right? You end up traveling because, oh snap, you're doing your move, you didn't forgot the dribble because you learned the move before you learned the dribbling. That's why you take the dribble first, will be the breath, right? A set sequence of breath. You keep it at a particular level, right? You just dribble from the same height all day. That's all you do. You just walk back and forth across the court, just dribbling. Whoop, wop, then, you know what I'm saying? And you might try to do some tricks, whoopty wop, but you keep it very standard so that you always can associate the buoyancy, right? And it's best to be doing your workout too, you know what I mean, while you're doing this, because you're going to have to know the different association of how strong you are as far as your muscle weight in relation to the force you need for your dribbling, right? If you learn how to dribble when you're out of shape, then once you get in shape, that's probably better, low key, because it takes less to do more. But if you learn when you're in shape, how to dribble, but then you get out of shape and you're not practicing dribbling, then you're gonna be slower. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, you know, when you get into the light, it's gonna call you to it. It's already calling you to it, really. It's not even really calling to it. You want to call it to you, but you're not gonna notice it unless you're already like just there enjoying the feeling of breathing right. The feeling of every time you breathe, you feel it more. Like you feel the breath better. Right? And then that's when the light gonna say, hey, you, we want some of that. We want to feel, not that we want to feel it, but we want some, right? You know what I'm saying? Connect your focus to full focus, right? So that your body really, right, can be one side of the spirit, right? Because the mental, right, would be, or the mental / psychic would be the bridge between the two. But what you want to do is you want to condense, you want to try to concentrate the bridge to where it becomes more compact. But even in its compaction, it's expanding. So the two sides are now being as far away from each other, right? To where now the center bridge becomes the diameter point of the circumference. And the circumference now got two sides. It's got the top and the bottom, or the left and the right, right? There's always one point at the exact other end of whatever particular circular circumference, right? You got the north end and the south end, or the poles, basically. The two poles of a circumference is going to be now, as you're concentrating that mental activity or that mental / psychic activity through your thoughts, which is going to take the breath, right? Which will be the pole, which is the spirit. But that pole is going to be closer to the center, meaning that circle will be smaller in your starting, right? But every fuller breath you take, that circle's becoming larger. Why? Because for one, each of them breaths is taking more time, right? Each of them breaths you breathing deeper and for longer. It just happens naturally. You can't help yourself, right? And even if it's the same amount of time, like 7 seconds, each of them seconds is fuller and fuller, cuz. Right? Sometimes you breathe 7 seconds and you only get maybe 2 seconds out of that 7 seconds is actually where you want to have it be the full 7 seconds, right? And that's how that 7 seconds becomes 7,000,000 seconds in the same 7 seconds. Why? Because at that point now your mental / psychic is the widest circle, even in the concentrated tip point of it, because it's connected to the circumference of the circle. Both poles of the circumference, which will be your physical, right? Your very body, and the fact that it's made of lungs and whatever other sort of organs that's taking the air where it needs to go, i.e. your brain, and the breath itself, bro. Right? Because it's not, the air is outside of you, cuz. Right? This very air that gives us the life we breathe in is surrounding us, fam. Right? And then we make what is called carbon monoxide, my nigga, or carbon dioxide, and we exhale that out of our body, and the trees breathe that. And then turn around and give us air to breathe. You understand? So that's the spirit, you understand? The air. Even though, yes, we take the air into our body and our body does what it does with it, and without a brain and lungs that use the air is not so effective or useful. But that's in relation to a person, which that has no fucking bearing without nature, nigga, to begin with. So that's why it's important to reconnect to that breath, cuz, which is the very other contrasting pole, right? which you want to expand in its charging of, right? Because as you charge it, it's emanating wider and wider, but it's always coming right back to where it's coming back, but it's coming where it's coming from. But where it's coming from and where it's going out to is faster. So now it can go farther in the same time. You get what I'm saying? And it feels like it, and it starts off at 7 seconds, but the feeling of it changes anyway. Right? It's not even what it is physically, yes. Materially, yes. In this realm of time, sure. That is the step one, yes? That's the first step on that staircase. Is the time in itself. Right? Because even you get to this other level, right? This other level of the subtle body, and you're able to go through the chakra door into these other hallways with these other mad doors, right? That's connected to each of the doors of the different levels of this particular staircase. Yes, because you can go outside of a door. It's however many fucking floors on the staircase. Yeah? Right? And those are the chakras, no? The main different, you feel me? But each of the chakras is got its own level filled with hallways. Some floors got more hallways. But it's still the same layout, bro, because the building's got the same size. You can't, unless you got like a big ass extrusion of the building to where it's not even just regular, like an actual compact sort of solidary shape. It's a different oblong sort of abstract shape building, and that's when you really got to explore if you're going to hop up off that staircase. Right, the stairs gonna lead to where it's leading, up and down, but it's got all these different exits and entrances on the way. You dig what I'm saying? But the first step is gonna be that time. Anyway, you dig? Start whatever, how many seconds. You breathe out, and you hold it for the same amount, generally, or less. Right? If you really wanna charge up and boost up a little bit less, a little bit faster, a little bit more smoother. What you want to do is hold your breath for a little bit less time. And then you breathe in. Right? Because what's going to happen with that is you breathe in 7 seconds. It's going to have you ready, more ready than you would be with the same amount. It's a little bit more like more of a rush, right? Not of a rush like a flush of energy, but just like a expediation. I wouldn't say that. I don't know how much instructions. I don't know how many directions will tell you to do that. I wouldn't recommend it, but that's something I gotta experiment with. Me personally, I like to hold my breath longer. Because that's just the point I'm at. And a lot of times it's the holding of the breath that helps to distribute whatever breath. Right? When you take a breath in, even when you let a breath out, your body's like, okay, reaching for that breath that would have been there if you was just sitting there not even really breathing all the way out any other time. Right, and then when you take the breath in, if you hold it, as opposed to your body already being used to it not being there as soon as it's there, because you're not holding it, then it's like, oh snap, it's still there, oh for sure. And then you hold it longer than you even took it in, then it's like, oh snap, I forgot to get this part of that air the last time because I was trying to snatch it and I wasn't even expecting to be there the first time, but then I fucked around, looked up, and it was still there. And guess what your pancreas is saying? Right, your spleen is saying, oh, let me get a little bit. Oh, it's not okay. I'm good. Oh, okay, I'll take a little bit more. Right? Then you exhale. And as you exhaling all of the premium toxins, right? Which would have not really been so safe to the exhale because it still was mixed up with a little bit of that scarce air it had to take in any other time, right? It went ahead and shed off the whatever else it didn't need because it got more of the cleanse, basically. So now when you exhale it, you exhaling that, and a lot of times you can feel it because it'd be tempting to exhale even longer than you would exhale. A lot of times, by the time I get into it, bro, I'm always gonna be exhaling and inhaling hella long. bro. But you gotta, and see that the thing about that is once you get to that point, that's even more important to just stay on them stairs, which would be that first step is always gonna be the same size step. Otherwise, you're gonna have to be jumping either smaller or larger steps. For the most part, you holding it longer, that's gonna be larger steps, right? Right, and you can do that if you know what I mean. You like to climb, but you want to keep it practical to where you could take that first step. It's the same size every time, and just stay on your and just get right up to the top, and then you can start doing whatever it is you want to do. As far as holding, basically, you're not gonna have to hold at all, or even worry about counting your breaths, because at that point, your exhale and inhale is going to integrate. You're gonna be straight up suspended, bro. You're literally gonna be like suspended in this whole, in the light, basically, right? To where the only thing that's gonna take it's gonna be now you going back through that door into that staircase. You may not take the steps down, but really honestly, if you wake up out of that, or you realize that you are now in that area where you would have been groovy and not even having to hold it or whatever else, because it's doing it automatically, right? You find out, oh snap, I was doing that the whole time. And what's cold is I don't even know if I would be holding my breath or not, because that's something you consciously got to do, is hold your breath between breaths. But I've had the experience to where I'll get to the roof and be on the roof, and then actually literally like figuratively settle into my pose, and then get the Zen meditating on the roof at the point, which I'm Zen meditating the whole time, but I'm taking the breath steps basically, right? I'm making sure I'm on my whole little sequence conditioning. Whoopty wop, out, hold, in, hold, same amount, no matter how good it's feeling, because then the point that I'm getting to, or I'm trying to illustrate, is the better it feels and the more tempted you are to even take more of a breath in, you save it, right? And then that's when the psychic part of the mental that is controlling your physical activity meets like the inner outer meeting the outer inner, right? But it's meeting so as to remind you of the inner inner. And that's going to happen much more purely. Really, it's not really no set way to do it, honestly. You know, because if you get in that area to where you're meeting the inner outer and the outer inner, then it's kind of like everything is everything at that point anyway. It's all about just enjoying the breath, you know. But if you can consciously remember what it is that you're doing, then you probably want to just, you know, switch to a hold at the point where you could feel it would have been whatever time. And that's going to be, you're going to be able to associate with that closer and closer the more you do it. It's all about just enjoying the breath, you know. But if you can consciously remember what it is that you're doing, then you probably want to just, you know, switch to a hold at the point where you could feel it would have been whatever time. And that's going to be, you're going to be able to associate with that closer and closer the more you do it. Because you got to get there to begin with. It's going to take whatever amount of time that you choose, whether it's 4 seconds, 7 seconds, 10 seconds. I say 7 seconds. That's what works for me. 7 seconds. You want to breathe out first, right? Breathe out first. 7, hold 7, in 7, hold 7, out 7, hold 7, in 7, hold 7. Right? And by the time you get with that, every breath you take in and every breath you take out is going to be stronger. It's going to be much stronger, much more balanced, right? And you get to a point to where, oh, it feels so good just holding this breath and feeling it move through all of my cells. But that very feeling in itself is going to be every moment without time soon if you just let it go when it is that you would naturally, that you could sense that you would naturally let it go in this particular, what you decided to get to that point. You got to respect the sequence. You know what I mean? You got to respect the moments. You don't have to, but just know that Yeah, you don't have to, honestly. You can just, like I said, enjoy it. That's the most important, because if you don't never get there, you're not going to get there technically, right? It's just the technical part is going to position you better. It's going to then begin to better calibrate what it is you're familiar with in the fuller experience of it. Yeah, man. That's how you want to take it. That's where you want to take it. But once you get there, you'll be able to make the connection of where you're taking it is actually taking you to. Right? You're taking it, it's taking you. And where you get to is everything. It's not really one place. It's all places, in any place that you would say. You know, the only thing that's going to click you out of it is you choosing. Is you're going to say, okay, well, look, this is what I want to take a breath now. Right? It's funny, and the more you do it, the longer it's going to take for you to remember to do anything other than that. So that's just interesting, because imagine you was able to do all of that. Right? And it was nothing to interrupt you, you know what I mean, or sidetrack you from having that happen. You know, it's a lot of people that are involved with that, but I don't think they're doing it completely, to be honest. Because they don't tell you about breathing in and out at the same time. Breathing in and out at the same time. That's the point you get to. And it's not even that you only do that. It's two things that happen. Your body takes over to where you've already basically programmed your body even to hold the breath. And the psychic part of your mentality now then is more integrated and influenced by the spiritual part, right? And you're in a trance. You're in like a sort of Zen trance, to where what you've decided is already on automated, sort of autopilot, and you're able to not have to focus on it so much the more it happens. And that's really the trifecta sort of sort of activation that's happening, right? Through your breath, through your thinking, and through your through your breath and your thinking, right? You got the thoughts, and then you got the breath, and then you got just kind of like the feeling of it. You know, outside of whatever thought, it's just like the experience. It's like, yeah. You know what I mean? It's the actual spiritual experience outside of thoughts, right? And it's not even really a feeling. It's just a glowing, bro. This is a feeling. It's not just one feeling. Like bliss, like I said, is all feelings at once. It's literal bliss, okay? It's like a land of bliss that you have to take a particular path, and you have to jump different steps, right? It's not like, oh, you just walk there. You gotta hop steps, and you have to hop at a particular rate and pace, so as to have enough momentum to hop further each time. And if you miss one, then you got to start over. Right? And I mean, you fall back to whatever level, then climb back up to the level to even take the first leap. Like that movie, The Golden Child, right? The niggas had to jump those pillars without dropping a drop of water, without spilling a drop of water. But then when he got there to where he had to grab the fucking dagger and shit, he realized that he was supposed to drink the water, right? In order to calm the fire that was keeping him from his treasure, basically. Right? He got to the point, he got through the whole trial fast enough, because if you remember, if you wouldn't have had jumped at particular points, it wouldn't have been no pillar to jump onto if he didn't jump off the one fast enough. And this is all without him being able to spill a drop of water, right? He's sliding across the bridge is falling the whole time. That's like what it is. It's not like you're so frantically chasing anything. It's just that's the rhythm you're in by that point. And to break the rhythm, there's already a connection associated with the rhythm that you've worked up to. And that's that goal to get to. You dig what I'm saying? That's that goal to get to, but you gotta have that charged breath regardless. And that's why it doesn't matter if you get into feeling good. At one point, before you're at the level, you're gonna need to exhale or inhale, no matter how good it feels, right? And that's the whole point. Like, it feels so great, you can fucking exhale for elongated 70 seconds, for 3 minutes if you like. But you might as well just keep it within a whatever range so that it charges up, right? Like that water that does not spill, right? At this point, you're spilling some of the water, right? When you're gonna need that water to drink to calm those, not necessarily calm the flames, but at the end, that's that energy that's taken over, right? Basically, right? It's that subconscious sort of psychic, automated mental energy that is happening when you're breathing. Your body's breathing on its own, but now you're basically reprogramming it, right? And that takes the correction of years. And that's why they say 1 minute for every year you've lived, minimum. Because that's 360 seconds a minute, right? Full circumference. You dig what I mean? And that's just that one time, right? And every time you get into this light, right? It says, "You, welcome back, good to see you," right? And you say, "Oh, man, I love you so much. Oh, brother, oh man, I missed you so much, basically. Oh man, I love when I get right here, man." It's like, as soon as you close your eyes, you're really gonna see it, low key, unless you are focused on this or whatever else. But if you're not focused on nothing, bro, you're gonna see it, right? It's not even that you're gonna see it, it's just that it's gonna be there, and then it's gonna see you as you see it, basically. And then it's like, okay, that's where it's at. Let me breathe. And then you're gonna grab it, like it's gonna, okay, you see it now. It's like all colors now. It's iridescent. It's all colors. It's like metallic gold, metallic amethyst, metallic turquoise, metallic silver, all in the white, right? And it's glimmering, and then it gets to twinkling, right? Twink, twink, twink. And you see it spinning, but you gotta let it go. And then when you let it go, then it pop right back above it, and it's bigger. And you say, "Oh man, you tripping?" And then you just don't think about it. Just like those thoughts that you forgetting, you gotta let it go. It's so beautiful. It's like, it's not even so beautiful because it's far away right now, but you know it's beautiful. You can feel its beauty, right? And then you just let it go, because that's not what you're there to do, is to chase it. You're there to enjoy what it is that you are. Niggas is a breathing fucking creature, nigga. And these breaths are supposed to be feeding your bones and everything. You're supposed to feel that. You're supposed to feel it fully, so you can move to the next level, right? As opposed to being buried under levels of not feeling it fully, more and more and more, right? So that's the reversal I'm talking about. And a lot of times it takes that time, at least in reference, to get to a point to where, okay, yeah, now that light then came up on you already, right? Because you always in the light anyway, regardless, but you can't focus on that. What to focus on is the time, is the experience, is the very feeling that those full breaths, it's basically bathing you. You bathing in the breath. That's what you should be doing. It's like you scrubbing the different little, you know what I mean, little areas that need the most attention, right? And then you caressing it too. Or it caresses you as you're scrubbing it, it's caressing you basically, right? But it's smooth, you're smoothing it down. So then it's like kind of like a hot, not too hot, but just hot enough to where it's hot, you know what I mean? Stinging a little, but not too much to where it's burning, but it's like a nice little soothing little hot, not even so warm, sort of cleanse, right? But you know what I mean, you lathering up, you rinsing off, you lathering up, you rinsing off, and then you dry off, and then you take another bath, right? Right? You moisturize yourself with the oil. You smooth off the different little rough areas, you know, your toes, if you having callus on it, you know what I'm saying, your elbows, whatever, you know. Your balls is nice and not sweaty, right? And then you moisturize your body. But then you hop back in the shower and scrub some more, right? And then you get out and you're drying, but then while you're drying, it just happens, right? You're enjoying just being clean and free and pure, right? And then it happened. It happened. But it's not, you're not doing it for that, right? You just scrubbing, bro. You scrubbing and you finishing the bath, because a bath is part of course, the drying off and you know, the moisturization, right? And the feeling like yourself, right? You step out on a clean floor, right? Now, that's why you sweep your floor before you take a bath. You know what I'm saying? Or you just stay in a clean area. You have to keep your area clean so that if you feel like taking a bath, you ain't got to stop to sweep first. But if you do want to take a shower and you need to sweep, then just sweep, oop-de-wop, mop. The bath is going to be long enough to where you can mop, and by the time you step out, it's going to be nice and fresh and clean, not soggy and wet. Only thing that's going to be wetter is the fucking water from off your body. Unless you step onto a towel that you put there, but that's got to be a clean towel. Otherwise, it's going to make you feel icky when you step on it. Right? So now you take a clean towel and you dry your skin off, right? Right? You scraping the fabric across your skin, right? So that you can, you feel me, have new pores. As soon as you're done with that, you do your hair with the wop. You do your hair, you know, you dry your hair off, you tie your hair up, and you ready for life. You ready to go smack a nigga, right? You ready to bust a break dance, whatever the fuck, right? You might even do a manicure. If you ain't did a manicure within the last however long, and your nails is long, then you cut your nails off. Right? You shave, right? You shave before you get in the shower, right? But then you're not done. After you get done and you would be ready to do whatever else, you hop back in that shower again. You hop back in the shower for another longer shower, right? You cleaning a clean body, right? You hop back out, you do the same thing. You dry off, whoop-de-wop. You light some incense, whoop-de-whoop. It's just all about the aesthetic. It's all about, you know, it's all about the energy. So then you might get to a point to where you feel completely straight, nice and free and fresh as possible. You hop back in the shower and you keep doing that. You keep doing that. Sometimes you'll be in the shower, it happens. Sometimes you'll be drying off and it happens, right? But once it happened, you in it, right? And even by the time you would have decided to come up out of it, you already been in it for a cool second, right? Because on the way there, you was bathing the whole time, right? You was priming, you was grooming, right? You was exfoliating, yes? So that's the life you're gonna see. You know, it's gonna be approaching you. But first it's gonna be like, kind of like suspended. It's gonna be like blinking off in the distance, same size. But every time you lock on it, right? Every time you, because really honestly, sometimes you close your eyes and you won't see it until it just like appears more. It's gonna appear out of nowhere. And that's when you just like, okay, try to look away from it low-key, because when you look at it, it's gonna look away from you low-key. But when you look away, then it's gonna be like right where you look too. It's like, oh snap, I thought I was not looking at you. Then you're gonna realize it is your center. It's your center, right? So your center, you can't go to your center, right? You just have to draw yourself back into your center, right? Because wherever you would go, you're taking your center with you. That's why when you look away, it's right there already. But that's once you see it. And even once you see it, right, you're still doing your thinking. Like right now, I'm not doing my thinking. So when I close my eyes and I try to look away from it, it's right there. But then it's not going to grow right away because I have to keep drawing my mind back into not thinking of anything. But I'm in the middle of speaking to you. So that's another part of it that's not already circulating. So yeah, that's the whole joint, that's what's going to happen. So just when you do recognize it or you realize it, I want you to remember what I said. And if it does happen and you happen to hear what I'm saying to you right now, send me a message and let me know your experience.